Alright, you guys, welcome back in. We got One Piece chapter 1156 full spoilers. They have dropped, and if you have not read them yet for yourself, I will be linking it down in the pinned comment, as well as typing it out piece by piece. So feel free to check it out there, because today we're just here to, of course, discuss what the hell is going on. We're here to have that conversation, share some thoughts, some theories, and all that good stuff. So with that being said, getting right into it, I think the brief spoilers were a little bit capping. So in the brief spoilers, they said that the Roger Pirates and the Kuja Pirates were clashing. So in my mind, you know, maybe this is my fault. This is my fault. But I was expecting Roger over here, you know, throwing punches and kicking and, you know, using hockey attacks. But now that we have the full spoilers and now that we see the dialogue in between the groups, it's like, yo, were they even fighting? You know what I mean? So we have this love triangle going on where Roger loves Shaggy, Shaggy loves Rayleigh, and Gloriosa loves Roger. And this whole confrontation is essentially just them sharing their feelings and talking about each other, which is so funny, man. Also, what I found really interesting is that a lot of this chapter does focus on the Kuja Pirates and Roger, so much so that in the full spoilers, apparently the narrator says that the popularity of the Kuja Pirates was so strong in that era that it wouldn't make sense to leave the Kuja out of the flashback. To me, at least, it feels like Oda is breaking the fourth wall, saying, hey guys, I know this is random, but we have to talk about these girls. So yeah, I thought that was just fun in general. It's nice seeing more of Roger's personality. That is what I said last week, right? I said, okay, the Roger feats are always going to be there. Roger's always going to be like one of the strongest characters out there. What we need from Roger was personality. We needed time spent with him to see what he was like, and here we have it, guys. He is a little bit of a gooner. He's a little bit of a simp for Shaggy, which I just gotta say is not a bad thing, right? People are saying, oh, not my Pirate King. What is he doing? But here's the thing, y'all. I mean, we all need a partner. You know, Roger was just looking for his, so I can't knock him for that one. I will say this, though. But Roger does catch an L on this love front, because we know that he doesn't end up with Shaggy, and he also doesn't end up with Gloriosa. Instead, he ends up with Port-Ghastie Rouge, which I do wonder where he finds her. Like, since we are following, you know, Roger, Garp, and Rox in this flashback, will we eventually see Ace's mom? Will we eventually see who Rox gets with? Like, I am kind of curious about that. And even Garp. Right? Will we see Garp's love life on the side? I know it's not like super important, but it is kind of important at the same time, because we're talking about D families, right? These aren't just like families we don't care about. No. These are Will of D families. So who they end up with, you know, that could mean something. Oh yeah, since we're talking about the Kuja Pirates, we can't forget that somehow Gloriosa does end up on Rox's crew. So there's a good chance that the Kuja Pirates get disbanded and destroyed via D Xebec fight, since that's how Rox has seemingly been recruiting his cast, which could explain Roger's line back at God Valley when he talked about being distraught for the past year. Going on, after Roger and the Kuja Pirates clashed a little bit, you know, they're over here sword fighting, we see Garp shows up and he uses an attack called Meteor Fist against Roger, and then we see Roger whip out a brand new ability called Wild Soul. In Japanese, it's called Aramitama, and the leakers say that it is one of the 4 sub-spirits that humans have according to a Shinto theory. And we see Roger and Garp fighting in an epic double page, and the narrator explains that it was during this era of the flashback that Roger, Garp, and Rox, youthful young bloods, clashed for the first time. That doesn't necessarily mean that this is Garp and Roger's first meeting. This could be their 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, maybe even their 10th meeting. It's just saying in this time frame is when they all were, you know, throwing fists around the sea, which I think is pretty awesome. I hope we do get more of this, right? I want to see what Garp's reaction is to Rox, because like I said, back during God Valley, Garp did not really care about Rox D Xebec initially. Like, he only went to God Valley because Roger was going. So how does Garp feel about him? You know, and alongside Garp, what is Sengoku and Sudo doing? Because Sengoku and Sudo, that's Garp's gang. So who are they chasing after? I think it'd be really cool if they're like, hey, Sengoku's going after this other named pirate. You know, Sudo's going after this guy over there. Maybe I'm asking for too much, but I just love being in this era of the flashback, because that is when we bring in all these, you know, big characters we know current day back into their primes. We go in a little bit and we see that D Xebec is in the process of recruiting some more characters. We get a random pirate showing up to Hachinosu named Kyo the Yakuza, who later becomes known as Silverax. And this guy that we've heard about for years now, turned out to be Shiki's rival. It was in front of us, guys. It was literally right in front of us. A guy named Silverax and a guy named Golden Lion in the same crew. Surely there was going to be a tie there. I cannot believe I haven't heard anybody put that together. I can't believe I didn't put that together. I mean, we have Gold Roger, Silver's Rayleigh, and Scopper Gabon. So it's like, okay, bronze, silver, gold right there. They're connected. Why did we not make the connection with Silverax and Shiki the Golden Lion? I have no clue. So one thing about Silverax, though, is that since he is a Yakuza, I do have to wonder if this is the guy that Yamato's going to in her cover page story, because she's currently approaching a grave of a guy who was born in the West Blue, but was raised in Ringo and was hailed as a hero. Maybe Silverax is that person, right? You know, because at first people were saying, oh, it could be Shiki, right? Shiki looks like he's from Wano, but he's also not from Wano, so maybe it could be him. But now that we're getting another character in that same vein, it could be Kyo the Yakuza. And we do have to remember that the person taking us to the shrine is Okiku, which is a scabbard, but, you know, forget her. But also Ocho the Yakuza. So there could be that connection there. But also, that right there was one of the main reasons why people thought it was Shiki's grave at first, because Shiki was also known as the Yakuza or the Outlaw as well. So it could be both, could be one of them. We're still not too sure. But if it was Kyo the Yakuza, I think that would line up with how Oda has been stalling the cover page stories, right? Because last week we had a color spread, and then this week we also have another color spread. So it's like, okay, if we go back to the cover page next week, then it could just be because Oda wanted to introduce Kyo the Yakuza and then kill him off in the very next chapter, which I think would be kind of funny. We see another new Rocks Pirate member that we have not heard of before, and his name is Barbel. So we've seen him in the God Valley flashback, but we didn't know who he was. You know, nobody's ever mentioned this guy before. But yes, we are revealed to Barbel, and he's a catfish fishman, and the leakers say that in this chapter, his hair resembles flames, which I think is pretty damn awesome. You know, as a guy from Oklahoma, I love catfish, so seeing a catfish fishman, it's a dream come true. You know, needless to say, if he looked awesome in this chapter, he just might be my favorite fishman of all time. Is he strong? Maybe. I mean, hell, if you're in the same room as Kaido, Whitebeard, Shiki, Big Mom, and D Xebec, I'd like to imagine he's at least Yonko commander level. But that's just headcanon right there, right? For all we know, he could be weak, but man, a catfish fishman? Come on. Come on. So with that being said, though, since he is of the old era, I do wonder if he knows Jimbei or Arlong or Fisher Tiger. Is that racist? Yeah, we see a fishman, and the first thing I wonder is if he knows other fishermen. Maybe, but you gotta admit, that is a pretty good question. He does have flame-like hair, so maybe he's related to the Sun Pirates, and that's why he has the flame aesthetic going on. I think that could make sense. So now, we go down to the last parts of the chapter, and this is when D Xebec talks about how he needs two things in order to topple the world government. One of them is, of course, the Galley-Law Giants, and then the other being the two legendary devil fruits. He doesn't say legendary in the full spoilers, but he does say two devil fruits, which, you know, I'm assuming they're not common, right? So he needs two devil fruits, and he says that one of them is indeed an Elbaf, and Rox actually wants King Harold to eat that devil fruit so that it can achieve its full potential. What does that mean, right? Why does King Harold have to eat that fruit for it to achieve its full potential? If I had to put money down, right, my headcanon, or my theory, is that the devil fruit in Elbaf is the legendary Sun God Nika devil fruit that Luffy has. The reason why King Harold would be able to achieve its full potential is because the Elbaf Giants believe in the Sun God. I think that is why it's important for King Harold to eat it. But now, here comes the big question. We know that King Harold does not join the Rocks Pirates. at least to our knowledge. And then we also know that by the time King Harold dies, the legendary devil fruit is still in Elbaf. So Rox, does he just not get this devil fruit at all? Was he working on it, and then that's when God Valley happened, and then he eventually died? I wonder. And also, would he have fought King Harold for this devil fruit? Or does he hold friendship above all else, and he's like, if King Harold's not going to join, then we'll just forget about this one. I do wonder. As far as the second devil fruit, I do think it's the Yami Yami no Mi. Like, those are my guesses. I know, very basic, very obvious, but I think it's the Yami Yami and the Sun God Nika fruit. I think those are the two devil fruits that Rox D Xebec wanted in order to topple the WG. One thing, though, I've been seeing people saying is that the second devil fruit is actually the Gura Gura no Mi. So that would mean that Blackbeard has both devil fruits already, the two devil fruits that Rox wanted. But my issue with that, it's not even like a big issue. It's just we need to like think it out a little bit, because if that is the case, was it the Yami Yami no Mi that was stored within Elbaf this entire time, and then eventually Thatch got it somehow? And if it's the Gura Gura no Mi, does that mean that Whitebeard was there when Harold died, and then he took the devil fruit for himself? Like, I think that's one thing that we need to explain. Like, okay, if it's not the Sun God Nika devil fruit, if Nika is not one of the two fruits that Rox wanted, then which of the fruits was in Elbaf? And why did Elbaf pass it down this entire time? And also, when somebody came here to steal that devil fruit, how did it go from that character to this character, right? Whether it be Blackbeard, whether it be Thatch or Whitebeard, I feel like that's my main issue with it. Some people are saying it's the Ope Ope no Mi, and I don't think the timeline matches up with when Diaz Barrels gets that devil fruit either. So there's just a lot of like small details when it comes to this devil fruit that we have to keep in mind. And also, I've been seeing people saying, oh, but Loki has the devil fruit, right? Loki is the one who ate the legendary devil fruit of Elbaf. And I could see that, but hear me out. When we started this flashback, we had a nameless, brand new silhouetted character showing up to the treasure room, and that character wasn't Loki. So, you know, we still have to put the pieces together there. Like, oh, did Loki show up later, kill that guy, and eat the devil fruit? Like, there's just so many, like, odd things about this flashback right now. And I think that's the point of this flashback, right? This flashback is all about that mystery. And, of course, we'll get more and more details as time goes on. But yeah, I am still wondering what it is. Like I said, if I had to put money down, I think it is the Sun God Nika devil fruit and the Yami Yami no Mi. But we will see about that one. So, Rox ends up the chapter by saying, listen, Elbaf is crucial when it comes to taking down the Holy Land. If you don't believe me, get lost now. Whether or not you want to follow me on the destined day is up to you. But if you have made up your mind, then tag along. I will show you what's on the summit of the world, brother. Rox has aura. What a great speech. But I do gotta say, it's a little bit sad hearing this speech and knowing that he doesn't make it back to the flower room. Knowing that he doesn't go to the summit of the world with this cast of characters, which, if Rox did go there with Whitebeard, Shiki, Big Mom, Kaido in tow, ooh, that would be devastating. That would be absolutely devastating. And the thing is, they have a lot of conquerors in the crew, man. So the whole thing about the God Knights not being heard and the God Knights being immortal, it wouldn't even really matter. Yeah, not with this gang, dude. Rox really did have a solid chance at taking down the world. Well, that being said, that is it for this chapter. Those are my thoughts. Those are my theories. Let me know what you guys think about all of this down below. What are your theories? What are your thoughts coming off of this? And of course, in the next couple of days, we will be going through the comment section and reading what you guys have to say. So, you know, make sure to just drop that down there. But yeah, that's pretty much it, y'all. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking out this video, spending your time here. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace out and stay safe, brothers.